2021 was a very crazy year in real estate. As you've probably seen in the media, buyers were going 100,000 over list, full appraisal gap, taking the house in as-is condition, giving sellers free rent back, and it was costing a lot of money for anybody to buy a house. And it was a super crazy year. So what Michael and I want to do is talk about the difference between 2021 and 2022. And so this year, it's a completely different year. Buyers actually have a great chance to buy a house. And the things that I'm seeing is the bidding wars are out there. They're not as intense as they used to be. Yesterday, I was looking at a mountain house that went 40,000 over list, which is higher than I'm typically seeing in the mountain houses, where in 2021, they're going 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 over list. And so we're seeing the bidding wars calm down quite a bit. And we're not seeing these huge appraisal gaps. And if they have them, they know that they don't need to use them because we have the comps to support the market value. Because we're not seeing the big uptick because we had such a strong spring that we have comps now that the appraisal gap coverage isn't needed like it used to be.
Right. Yep. There's still demand in the market,
Yeah.
ton of demand. And millennials are the biggest demographic that I think the United States has ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to the baby boomers, they are a larger demographic. And they're starting to have kids. So even though the Fed in the background is increasing rates to really crush cost of goods, appreciation / inflation, there's still this large force in the background that's going to create this steady environment. As you probably know, Barry, any good property is going to get demand, right?
Yeah.
But 2021 was extreme. With interest rates as low as they were, it was almost like throwing fuel on the fire where we had a strong market and the Fed just wanted to come out of COVID with a really, really strong economy with lack of foresight, understanding that we're going to have to pay the piper here eventually. And that's what we're now seeing. And this is not going to be the 2008 Great Recession.
No.
Because everyone's in a fixed rate loan right now.
Yep.
The average homeowner has $200,000 in equity. And all of this leads to a situation where if someone, let's say, loses their job, which during a recession, there is a retraction in the economy. People will lose their jobs, but they have options. They can sell their home. They don't have to give it up to foreclosure, which impacts the whole neighborhood. And we've seen that play out. So I believe we're kind of coming around that corner where we're no longer in that reckless situation that we were in 2021 that just wasn't sustainable. It's now a much more controlled, healthy environment, even though like pulling the Band-Aid off is painful. It's ultimately a good thing.
No, I agree completely. 2021, the offers that we were writing, I was talking to agents in my office and we were losing sleep. We were making such aggressive offers. And I put an offer together last week that went under contract, and I was like, oh, this is a great offer. We're not giving everything away. We can negotiate the inspection. We don't have an appraisal gap. It was actually a really comfortable offer to write that protects my buyer, that if something happens, they don't have to come out of pocket for a furnace. They don't have to come out of pocket for a low appraisal. And so the offers that I've written recently, I've really enjoyed writing them because there's some protection for the buyer in this market.
Yeah, absolutely. Barry and I, we both deeply believe in real estate and creating wealth through real estate. So even in 2022, it was a good thing to own a home because you start that cycle of appreciation, paying the balance down, you fix the cost, so you kind of take your housing costs out of that inflation kind of ramp up. However, it did get hard to represent our buyers on your side, the real estate side, and my side, and on the mortgage end, in a very prudent manner. So back to the basics is ultimately a good thing.
No, it really is. I think it's really interesting now because I think now is a better time to buy than it was a couple of years ago. Yes, interest rates are slightly higher, but it also gives buyers a lot more options. There's more inventory on the market. They can write offers that aren't going to break the bank. And also something that was never in the picture last year is somebody being able to buy a house without their house being sold. So if a house has been on the market 30 days and it's at a higher price point, and the buyer needs to sell their house at a lower price point, which we know is going to sell quicker, they could go in, buy that higher price point house and say, we'll give you a full price offer, just give us 2 weeks to sell our house. And any seller that has their house on the market for 30 days is going to love that offer. So we call this the contingent offer option. So those offers, I believe, are going to start taking place, and it's going to be a lot easier for these move-up buyers to get a property. Where years ago, if your house wasn't sold, you weren't buying a house. And then you were extremely stressed out because you had to sell your house and then you had no idea if you're going to find a house in 2 months or not. Now, with this slower market, it's going to give buyers a lot more options for those move-up options.
For sure, and you mentioned interest rates a little bit there. Rates are about double what they were last year at this time, which sounds terrible, but we're still below historical averages. The historical average 30-year fixed is 7%. We're between 6 and 6.5 right now, to be determined where we go from here. However, we are still again below historical averages, and there's a couple ways to look at this. A lot of people I talk to, they think of that loan being their 30-year plan in that home, but that's not reality. The average life of a loan is, depending on the rate, of course, is 4 to 5 years. So if you buy a home at an imperfect rate, it's okay. We can help you dynamically manage the loan you're in, and what that means is a refinance. So if we do go into a recession, again, it's not going to be a housing recession. I don't think.
No.
It'll be an economic recession. Rates tend to come down. So if you buy at, let's say, 6.25%, rates come down to 5.25. That can directly benefit you as a then buyer, now a homeowner, bringing your monthly payment down and approaching it in a more dynamic manner. And the pro and con being the ability to buy a home right now, but at a higher interest rate.
Yeah, and so something that I'm seeing with interest rates is, yes, interest rates are definitely higher. A scenario that I was just talking with Michael about is in 2021, you buy a house $100,000 over list. You do a appraisal gap of $50,000. You buy the house in as-is condition. You have to replace a furnace. That's $10,000. In this market, you're not doing that. So you're getting about $160,000 in savings being able to write an offer where you can negotiate inspection items. Write an offer where you don't need the appraisal gap. And you're not going 100,000 over. So yes, interest rates are slightly higher than they were, a couple months ago, but you also get that $160,000 savings because you're not making that crazy offer that all of us agents were losing sleep over.
Right.